Hey, Dr. Eric Topol. You don't know me, and I happen to live in Sweden. So that's a Swedish shirt. Um, and it says, My heart beats for Ronneby. So I live near Ronneby, but I'm from the United States. Well, I was born there, and I lived there till I was 43. And I am writing a video letter to you because I've written video letters to other people. And today I heard you on um, an interview. So I have no idea if it's going to be possible to find out how to send this to you. But what I will say is that on this interview, that's not the one that I wanted to show you. Well, on this interview, it's with Ampor. I'm going to find the other piece. Sometimes it's not so easy to find the pictures that I want. Yes, here we go. So this just happened today and it crossed my feed. And public broadcasting system in a few months might not be in the United States. So I just want to do a shout out here to say thank you for doing an interview with them. It is on YouTube, which I'm grateful for. But if if the United States legislators in the Senate approve to rescind funding, public broadcasting might not be there, which means messages like yours won't get out. So I'm going to order the book Super Ager because I need to read the science about the secrets to longevity. This has been very interesting. You've talked in a number of different areas about, let's see, deep sleep and how deep sleep is critically important and being on something like a sleeping medication. And you mentioned it in your talk, your interview. For years is not necessarily deep sleep. And I have to tell you, my mom started around her late 40s with sleeping medication because she was a single mother of two children. Teenage girls are not the easiest to raise. And being a single mom, yes, I had a father and he did pay child support. That doesn't cover the costs. So she had two jobs. She taught kindergarten and then she worked at a nursing home in the evenings after school, after a whole day working with kids. Then she worked from 4 o'clock until sometimes 8, sometimes 10 p.m. She was a hard worker. She made things happen. So I just want to share with you something that you guys aren't thinking about. And these super agers, I realized when I was doing some research on my mom, there is somebody that was born 6 months later than her in 1940. And it happens to be somebody in the United States that we all know. And I think the whole world after COVID knows this particular person. All I have to show is a picture, and then everyone will know exactly who I'm speaking of. But Dr. Anthony Fauci, an amazing clinician, an amazing person that thought outside the box and helped solve the AIDS epidemic by listening to the people that were very upset. And had he not taken the time to listen to those individuals that were protesting and saying AIDS is not right and you have to help treat this, AIDS research and solutions to might not have come as quickly. So, Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you. But also, you are a super ager because he did so much for helping people navigate the COVID pandemic in the United States that I think that he's gotten a very bad label, and it's too bad because he's been amazing. And let's see, when was he born? He was born December 24th, 1940. So he is now 84 years old. Well, my mom was born September 21st, 1940. So that she was about 7 years, sorry, 6 months older than him. And her longevity and was not good. that she read lots of books. She didn't have pediatia. She to say about all these markers about her four horsemen, about her cardiovascular disease, about her chronic pain, about her fibromyalgia. And no one was there to put all the pieces together to say, oh dear, this woman has some things that we have to treat. That's not necessarily pharmaceutical. That's not necessarily a surgical intervention. But at the time, in the 1980s and 1990s, the thing that she was given was a pharmaceutical drug, or because of pain, a surgical intervention. And frankly, Dr. Topol, this has to stop. This has to. She had the potential to die with dignity. She had the potential to die much better than she did. And last June 4th, 2024, she did pass away. And she was not yet, 83. '84. Yeah, she wasn't yet 84. It didn't have to happen that way. I did so many things to try to get her the right help, and it's incredibly difficult to find the right doctor. And it shouldn't be that hard to navigate the medical system in the United States. But I will tell you, it is. You can find the right gem in this big haystack, but there are fewer and far between gems. And all the research that is going on at Scripps, you have some really smart cookies behind you. And why some of this information has not translated or trickled down to the regular doctor's office is beyond me. I know this sounds like I'm a little bit angry. I'm not yelling at you. I am upset and I'm frustrated, and that's why I'm doing this letter. If you can bear with me, I will get to my point. I promise. I promise. I promise. You mentioned on your interview, let's see, that I had just read. So this was about 10 minutes and 21 seconds when you were asked about what causes Alzheimer's. And there is a transcript on this particular PBS link. That's right here. And I'll put it in the show notes in case anybody, in case you're watching this and you want to go through and read the transcripts. Quite honestly, no one watches my channel. I don't care. I'm sending this video letter to you because something has to change, and you have the ability to help it change. You do, because you know some smart cookies. So it says here about Alzheimer's disease. My mom was diagnosed with dementia very late in life. She was diagnosed with Parkinsonianism very late in life. And at 81, she was diagnosed with this. And how is a neurologist supposed to help her when everything in her brain has already changed? And then she starts showing signs. Still to this day, I'm not sure this is exactly what was going on, but the neurologist declined my request for a second opinion. So I read information, and this particular book says nothing about the loss of mechanoreception. Does not say anything about mechanosensors being lost. But as we know from beta amyloid hypothesis, there are a lot of things that are already out there that the regular doctor offices don't know. And this is what I have to ask you. Why? So you said that we have a way to do this now about finding out misfolded proteins. And we have a marker called p-tau 217 that a lot of people and doctors don't know about. Why don't we know about it? Why did I take my mom and try to find out for years what was going on with her? And we didn't know about this. And maybe for a long time, she didn't have inflammation in her brain because she had it in her coronary arteries. She had shear force in her blood vessels that was diminished. Now we understand about shear force and blood flow, and it creates nitric oxide. We knew it then. Why we didn't treat that part is beyond me. So let me see. We can now tell 20 years in advance by this particular marker that people have a high vulnerability. So therefore, they can do certain things to have a better longevity, health span, like you say. Now, I have to ask, Bennett Umalo, he wrote a book. 2017 is when it was copyrighted. Now, in this book, on page 236, he writes about a radiological marker that Julian Bales and Bob Fitzsimmons helped identify. We identified a radiological marker for tau and amyloid proteins called FDDNP. FDD, N as in Nancy, P as in Paul. And it was discovered at the University of California, Los Angeles. Okay, so then they formed TauMark and raised money to carry out radiological scans and brain scans of 5 retired NFL players, including a man named Fred McNeil, who passed away November 3rd, 2015, at the age of 63. And that's way too young. That's way too young. So Google is a wonderful thing. And there's all sorts of information that can be found. So let me just share Wikipedia, which is a very good source of information, depending on who wrote it. I know it's only one source. I'm using several various different sources. So here's Fred McNeil, his professional career with the Vikings. And following his death, Bennett Umalo conducted an autopsy on McNeil and confirmed CTE diagnosis, one of at least 347 players, NFL players. And it was repeated hits to the head. Now, yes, my mom had several concussions. No one ever talked about doing this type of testing. And she had a very wonderful psychologist eventually that we found, Dr. Preston. He was brilliant. Electric shock therapy and some medication, a little cocktail, brought her back to me. And she actually lived a very good life from 2014 to about 2019. So that was really nice. But in 2020, something happened. Her medication cocktail that was given to her by a psychiatrist that helped treat her major depressive disorder or clinical depression. That pharmaceutical cocktail of 30 different things, Seroquel, nifazodone, and venlafaxine, was altered overnight without telling the family because nifazodone was no longer available. I would have paid so much money to make sure that she would have had that nifazodone because she had relied on it for at least 10 years. Her body required that. I don't know what nifazodone does with her PZO1 and PZO2 receptors. You're going to have to ask your friend Ardam Pataputian, but I know this. There was never any radiological pictures of her markers for her FDDNP when it was available. And she had major depression. And a lot like these other individuals that were, they began to forget things. They had trouble concentrating. They had headaches. They couldn't stay on task or stay on track, and they couldn't work and function in society. And that's where my mom was. And it doesn't make any sense to me why we're not treating this. So let's go back to find out what you said in your interview with so let's see. You also talked about, no, that's not what I want. Okay, so this nice man that is interviewing you talks here about 5 minutes and 9 seconds about sleep and why 7 hours is ideal. Um, but even 8 plus more hours is not as beneficial. And I'm going to put a link in there regarding Dr. Joan Vernikos. She was a NASA stress researcher for astronauts that were going into space. And she did some studies that I think would very much interest you. Nitric oxide in the endothelial and how the endothelial lining breaks down without loading, with omission loading. So astronauts that go into space in microgravity don't have pressure on their body. And this gravity is absolutely necessary for all of our PZOs to work and function well. Now, Dr. Joan Vernikos says there is a problem with loading omission. So when loading is omitted for a certain period of time, whether it be long, prolonged bed rest, so being in bed for longer than 8 plus hours, or being ill and laying in bed, the whole system starts to change. And this is why it's necessary that Ardon Pataputian and all your smart cookies start talking to the force-based mechanisms group. Helen Langevin at the NCCIH, Dr. Robert Schleip from Germany. And I'm going to put their information in the show notes, plus a video letter that I sent to Robert and a colleague of his, an osteopath. I have no idea if you're going to do anything with this, but loading omissions starts to break down collagen. And that's why Joan Vernikos said collagen is absolutely critical that we keep, even with exercise. So let's bring you to Joan Vernikos's information. Wait right here. I will get you there. So we're going to do a couple things here with Dr. Joan. This is her information about an animal that flew into space for 9 days. And here's normal blood vessels. Here's normal blood vessels. Here's the endothelial cell of this animal in space for 9 days. And it's starting to break down. And it's not only in one location. This breakdown is happening all over the animal's body. Oh, sorry, in space for 10 days, which means the same amount of nitric oxide is not going through the system because the sheer force of blood is not the same through the blood vessel. Now, I will back up a little bit. And here at 20 minutes and 43 seconds, we talk about astronauts. And astronauts that return from space, they have problems with balance. And they stand like they are a child. And they don't have balance and coordination here on Earth. What has happened to their proprioception? They've lost it. Now, what she does say is they recover it. But here, the baby is learning to lay down proprioceptors in the deep retinaculum of its fascia. As we know from researchers in Italy, Dr. Carlo Stecco, the fascia, the deep retinaculum, is not formed in the fetus. It forms as we put load on the body as a baby. We learn to turn our head with our wants and needs and desires. We also learn to stand up, hold a cup, bring a cup to our mouth. My mom lost all of these. Now, even though astronauts exercise heavily in space, they are still having problems with the balance board and posturography tests when they come back. And they exercise constantly. constantly. Yet, every system in the body is affected. They have insulin resistance, muscle atrophy, bone loss, a smaller heart that pumps less effectively, reduced heart rate, stroke volume, and transit time in the gut is even slower. Absolutely everything is changed. And the muscle atrophy is followed by fat moving into the muscle, into every cell. Okay, I'm not going to get into the fat part because Ardon Pataputian wonders in one of his Beijing talks why there is a mechanosensor sensing fat. But what I am here to say is I've been listening to your Scripps lectures. Thank you for being the founder of the Scripps lecture. Okay, so yeah, I got to find quite a few things that we're going to share here. Now, let's see. I can't. I listened to your How Medicine is Failing a Nation in Pain. And then I got Haydar's book, Scars, Story of Our Scars, The Song of Our Scars, An Untold Story of Pain in April 2022. So thank you, Dr. Topol. I mean, this particular information here, Medicine in the Machine, How Medicine is Failing a Nation in Pain, chronic pain is an unmet medical need, as Ardon Pataputian has so eloquently stated in his Nobel Prize lecture. I've watched Ardon Pataputian in just about every particular video, every particular interview he's given, because his PZO1 and PZO2, the receptors that the lab discovered, is answering a lot of questions with what happened to my mom. I mean, all of the bladder infections, PZO1, what's happening to her ecosystem of pressure receptors when that inflammation happens? She's falling down. No one could explain to me why she was falling down when she had all of her bladder infections. I was told that she had MS. I was also told that she had that she needed to have at 63 years old go to a nursing home. It's a bladder infection, but that's an early warning sign and a critical intervention to find out if her PZO1s were genetically changing or something like that. That would have been great, because at that time, I think that we knew PZO1 was so important. Pretty sure Ardon's group had it then. I'm getting off track because my emotions are getting in the way. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Okay, so let's find out. Yeah, what a fantastic guy. Uh, Boy, I have dug in to Hugh Rosen. No, I know I'm having a hard time to move the screen. Okay, hang, hang on, hang on. Sorry, I had my husband ask me a question that's not the easiest to do a video and need somebody to have some help. So Hugh Rosen here, he talks about dynorphins. He talks about the Navracam. Oh gosh, I'm going to get that wrong. He talks about dynorphins being a ligand, and this opioid dynorphin ligands are elevated in the production of stress response. It is elevated in the brain by anxiety and depression. It activates the kappa opioid receptor and induces anxiety and agitation, bad feelings, brain fog, impaired executive function, and hallucinations. Oh my God, he just described my mom. When activated by chronic stress, it turns anxiety into depression. Where was he when I was searching for somebody to help us with my mom? And thank goodness. And he calls this anhedonia. Depression is far from anhedonia. It's like no motivation. No motivation. I mean, you can see the sky is blue and it's gorgeous, but you can't feel it. There's no motivation. It's just complete silence on the inside. Nothing is snapping in, nothing. I know you guys want to treat this with a medication. I get it. But that's why I'm writing you this letter, because mechanotherapeutics and what Len Megevin has talked about, what Robert Schleip has talked about, what this neurons matter, Doctors Ellen Lumpkin and David Gertney, and neurons matter. Laura Case, Håkan Olausson, he's here in Linköping, Sweden, and they discovered with Åke Valborg in the 1980s about microneurography, and we know how important the slow touch system is. And we're not doing anything in medicine to create a better slow touch system. We're not training it. We're not activating it. We're letting it die. And if we're going to prune all of those receptors away, those mechanical sensation receptors, we're going to have problems. Because if there's no PZO1, the bladder doesn't function well. If PZO2 is lost, we know from Alex Chesler and Carson Boneman that somebody has to use their vision in order to walk well. And the girl that they show, Ardon shows on one of his videos at the Scripps lecture, she cannot walk with being blindfolded because she learned at a young age how to use her vision to substitute for something that was lacking. My mom developed a sensory processing disorder, not a movement disorder. I'm sorry, not a movement disorder. I know, that's a lot to say. Holy clean. Oh, what a great individual. You have so many cool people at your fingertips. Do you know how lucky you are? Oh, goodness. Holly, there you are. Okay. So, yes, I did watch almost all of her things on YouTube. And so there is an absolute understanding how experience controls brain development. And that's why I'm going to send you video letter number 6 that I sent to Robert and I sent to Andreas. And it's in the show notes. I hope you watch it. Hey, we're on the tail end of everything because my husband needs me to help him with something. So let's see. This is what I'm going to put in the show notes. And hopefully I can find a way to get this to you. And I'm also going to highlight the mechanotherapeutic information from Helen Langevin, and that will be in the show notes. But the basic thing is early mechanotherapeutic. Oh, let's just go to my information here. Early treatment interventions of critical peripheral sensory nervous system couples with early treatment interventions of critical peripheral sensory nervous system couples with central nervous system. This unconscious entrainment offers the body an ability to figure things out all on its own, just like Mother Nature. Early mechanotherapeutic interventions are the foundation of helping people of all ages help themselves, but we can couple mechanotherapeutic interventions with pharmacotherapy interventions, with surgical interventions, and we can have a much better result. Please start talking to the force-based mechanisms group. Then, yep, there's one more paper I have to share with you. Can't believe I can share so many papers. Yeah, but look, I have something here. I did another video, and Mr. Ardon Pataputian is my hero. There is no doubt this man is an absolute hero of mine. And he talks here and here all about the PZOs and somatosensation and all these organs, but it's also in the muscle spindles. It is in those muscle spindles need to have that arachnoid matter around them that is a fluid filled space. And without the fluid-filled space of maybe cerebrospinal fluid, that muscle spindle is not reacting the way it needs to. And there is lack of proprioception. It's not only PCOS, it's all these other things. And then we have people like he talks about here. Ellen Lumpkin. I go too far. The doctors Ellen Lumpkin and David Gaten. Sorry. So, sensors in plants detect substrate stiffness. And this is why it's important for us to understand when our substrate gets stiff, whether it's lung fibrosis, whether it's pancreatic fibrosis, that stiffness, things can't get in. Fluid can't get in. It can't flow. Mechanotherapeutic interventions, whether it's a shockwave therapy, or whether it's a hands-on person, or whether it's something like foam rolling, like Dr. Robert Schleip has investigated, something needs to happen, please. My mom could have died better, and there's other women that are going to follow in her footsteps, and it's not right. Okay, done. Okay, force-based mechanisms. Hey, hang on. All right, force-based mechanisms. I don't have a website for this. I should, because Dr. Jorge Stevenson's, let's see if I can move this over so you can get, yes. So Jorge Stevenson's an osteopath and cognitive scientist specializing in chronic musculoskeletal pain and a passionate advocate for evidence-informed, person-centered care, is giving a lecture July 22nd at 2 p.m. He's an osteopath, cognitive scientist specializing in chronic musculoskeletal pain. ForceNet webinar, force-based mechanisms, FBM. This is something that I'd love Holly Klein's of the world, and I'd love your Hugh Rosens of the world, and your Ardam Pataputians of the world. And I've asked Ardam for a paper before because I couldn't read it, and luckily his assistant sent it to me. How very nice of him. Very nice. I'm not an institution. I can't afford to buy all these papers, but it is important to keep up to date with the latest information. And I'm telling you, massage therapy or hands-on therapy or teaching someone how to do their own force-based mechanism therapy is a critical stage intervention piece that people should have for a better health span. Exercise is great. There are many people that can't do it. And we're done with that one. So let's go back. ForceNet webinar, got it. Yep, July 22nd, got all that? Okay. And then we got one more. Not there yet. Let's see. Last one. All right, found the last one here. So this is neurocircuitry of force-based manipulations. Now this, I believe Helen Lumpkin is there regarding neurons matter. And the opening remarks are by Helen Langevin. Oh yeah, workshop charge, Dr. Ellen Lumpkin. She's in the fields of neuroscience, bioengineering, and manual therapies. Incredible woman, very smart. And please just start listening. Have a conversation. Do something completely different for medicine so people can help themselves and their body can adapt on its own before allostasis is no longer possible. That's all I have to say. I guess I could have said it in one sentence, but now you know where I'm coming from. So this was in 2019. The newest one is January 18th, 2024. and that is the force-based mechanisms steering committee group, and you can contact Bill Reed with Duke University. You can contact Victoria, or I'll put it in the show notes who you can contact, and you can get a link for that. So it's free. Thanks for your time. I so appreciate it. I'm actually a nice person, but I just had to write to you. There's a solution for most of what you're talking about. And most of us can be super agers without costing a huge amount of money to the medical system or putting all of our money into long-term care, which I've been with my mom. It's 10,000 plus a month. Okay, bye.